Frozen.
Hello to everyone in Trio Talks land. This is Cameron and Philip, and we have a special guest today. This is episode 13 of Trio Talks. And I'll let our guest explain how 13 is actually a very lucky number for him. Or
Mhm.
that he educated me yesterday that it can be a lucky number, depending on how you interpret it. So, we're a little bit late because I just got back from travel. Philip just got back out of customs. You know, Philip's been traveling the world. Where in the world is Philip Pavlovich instead of Carmen Sandiego? Um, but we have a great show today. We appreciate everyone that's shown up as a get an audience member. Um, Philip and I were traveling last week. I was not at the Derby, but I was in Kentucky. And Philip is just a
Bummer.
mystery guy that just pops up anywhere. You know, he was anywhere and everywhere when the World Cup was going on. But I was specifically at a research conference in Kentucky. Um, Beautiful state, but very, very humid.
Mm.
So, Trio Talks is a weekly podcast that our office puts together, and we talk about Trio and we talk about how wide-ranging Trio programs are. We talk about all the different kinds of students that we work with. The goal is to truly interview people who have wide-ranging experiences, variety of experiences, and to show the just the wide scope of students, professionals, and other work related fields that look in trio and work in trio. Today's guest is someone that I've gotten to know over 2 years when I've been to events that our organization in Washington, D.C., called the Council for Opportunity in Education. Our national advocacy organization has an event every March. When we've talked about that in the past, because we've had some students where we've interviewed that went to that event. And I was privileged enough, being on our Oklahoma Trio board, that my position was paid to go. And while I was there, I saw this guy get up and ask like these really intelligent, focused questions and unafraid to speak his truth and talk about his experience. And I was like, so that was 2025. And then this year, I see the same guy, I think wearing the same cardigan, the same hat that he left in Washington, D.C. from 2025. He just like they left it there in the hat in the coat rack area of the hotel. But he asked the same pointed questions and very, very good questions. But he's just a really swell, nice person. We got to talk more in 2026, and I've kept in touch with him, and we're going to hear great experiences from our guest today. And our guest is not Philip today, so if you wondered if Philip has been replaced by a permanent co-host, it's not. Our guest is someone Philip will go introduce in a second. But we interview trio professionals and trio alumni from all over the country and throughout our state and from different trio programs to show the wide scope of what we do. And I think you'll see that in today's interview. We also focus on the relevance of trio by talking about students that have succeeded in their career as a result of participating in trio programs, or they see a dramatic increase in their financial success because of being a part of trio and going to something after high school, whether that be community college, a trade school, a bachelor's degree, a master's degree, a doctoral degree. All the opportunities they've had because of trio either make them more successful career-wise or increase their pocketbook. And then third, we talk about gratitude because we like to talk to people who are interested in paying it forward for what they've been given. And those are the three goals we're going to establish for this episode as well. So I'll hand it over to Philip to do the interview for our guest. Introduction for our guest.
Yes, I'm going to take over and continue with the segment one, since we're still into introduction before we shift to segment two. Before I do that, I just have to kind of correct. my fellow co-host and employee Cameron on a couple of things. One, it's not really a correction; it's just an addition to. Now that the World Cup is over, you're gonna be in charge of finding something for me to do as far as popping up at places randomly across the country, because now we have no more games to get to. And two, this is for everyone, guys. Don't let Cameron trick you. This is his world. We all just live in it, and that's the fact. And he even knows that. We only accommodate to it. All right. Um, I'm going to introduce our. You did say guest number 13, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Guest number 13, episode 13. That might be, well, definitely is in the contest for the longest bio that I'm going to read. We had Dr. Mike Davis, and I didn't mind that at all. I actually enjoyed these, but I do have to ask everyone to just either bear with me or enjoy with me, depending on how much you guys love introductions and just hearing about people's backgrounds. So here we go, without wasting much more of your time. Jorge Hernandez is an educator from San Diego County, California. He was actually born in Tijuana, Mexico, where he completed his kindergarten, elementary, junior, and high school education. To pursue psychology, he immigrated to the United States, where he was allowed to repeat his high school senior year in the 1991 academic year. This is the reason why he has two high school diplomas. Yeah, that's unique. He had a newly hired and amazing counselor at Castle Park High School, which is in the Sweetwater High School District. Her name was Miss Sanchez, a veteran and officer of our U.S. Navy forces. During Jorge's second semester of his senior year, he proudly transitioned his immigration status from a U.S. resident to a U.S. citizen, as he successfully passed his U.S. citizenship written and oral exams. He was sworn in, among many other people from other nationalities, in Balboa Park by Judge Samuel Lottie, who congratulated everyone in benefiting from this country's resources and benefits, but also expected everyone to become part of the solutions to this country's problems. All this happened the same semester he was taking high school U.S. government in his senior year with Mr. Wallace. Jorge regraduated in 1991 and began to attend Southwestern Community College to pursue his Associates of Arts degree in psychology, while he worked as a library page in Castle Park, Chula Vista Public Library, and as an academic tutor at Southwestern College. Before beginning his career in higher education and Trio, Jorge transferred to the University of California at San Diego, UCSD, after 4 years of exploring what he wanted to do, as he also wanted to know everything, and worked for the early academic outreach program known as EAOP. While in EAOP, he worked in the Grossmont Union, San Diego Unified, and Sweetwater Union High School districts. His work responsibilities included college preparation, college to career information, promote and educate the benefits of honors and AP classes, as he also chaperoned and gave tours to middle and high school students from Title I high schools, where approximately 80% of students attending are low income and whose parents have not graduated from a university, so first gen. EAOP also held a 1 week summer residential program where students lived on campus and would have reading and writing classes on different kinds of American and world literature. Students also wrote different prompts in prose and poetry, and at the end of the 5 days, they would submit two final pieces in expository and poetic writing, where a magazine was printed and given to every single participant at the end of the week. After Jorge graduated from UCSD 4 additional years, he kept exploring different careers in sociology with a minor in ethnic studies, which is a branch of US American history. He was soon invited to work on the very first Upper Mount Math Science program in University of California, San Diego back in 2000. Upper Bound Math and Science served 7 high schools across 6 high school districts in San Diego and Imperial Valley counties. Because of his experience with Upper Bound Math Science, after 5 years, he was invited to work for the talent search program. Jorge thrived in trio talent search at UCSD, where it served 4 high schools across 2 school districts, as all were Title I high school schools. He also co founded with Dr. Park the San Diego Imperial Valley Trio Alliance, an approved organization under WESTOP, where trio programs can work together to learn from each other on best practices, better advocacy, and more efficient ways to share resources. This is his 26th year working for Trio Talent Search program, where students are advised on college, university, accredited vocational school options besides college tours and educational cultural field trips. Jorge has always worked in the capacity of college advising and program coordination because he believes in direct student services, which are the most efficient ways to help students directly with all their needs. Jorge graduated with his master's degree in Chicano studies at San Diego State University in 2018. He has been an adjunct faculty ever since, besides being a college advisor through UCSD Trio. Due to his knowledge and experience, he has built and maintained key partnerships to stretch every dollar Talent Search receives from the U.S. Department of Education, including but not limited to EAOP, San Diego CalSOAP, the San Diego Foundation, the Irvin Jacobs School of Engineering, and other crucial partnerships across community colleges and universities that benefit every single participant in Talent Search. Jorge, welcome again. And this is impressive. And it's not just a saying, but this really is an impressive biography. There's so many things here that I would like to ask you about, that I would like you to talk about. We probably don't have that much time, but you're more than welcome to, obviously, as we talk, peek through any of these and share with us. But uh, why don't we start? Let's just go in an order, kind of, even though we'll probably skip some things. And if you want to tell us first, just growing up uh, in Tijuana, how was that experience? Anything you want to share culturally or specifically education wise, since we're talking about education? Anything that you want to pick from that and let us know.
So I grew up in a spot in a community in Tijuana where you could see the whole United States in San Diego, not the whole United States, but San Diego. We were up in a mountain or a hill, and you could see the Coronado Bridge. You could see the city. We lived with my grandma, my grandpa, my parents. There were 2 houses that share the community. But something that a lot of people don't know, and I talk about in my presentations, is my great grandma did not know how to read or write due to the Mexican Revolution. So when my grandma was born, um, she was not taught, my maternal grandma, she was not taught to value education. So she finished second grade, she started third grade. And my grandpa said, you know what, I think it's better that you become a babysitter for your younger sisters as opposed to going to continuing education. But she was an exceptionally bright woman. So when my mom started elementary school, she finished elementary school, she wanted to go to junior high. My grandma said, no, I need you to start working because we need money. And when my sister was born, she finished junior high. So my dad, his family had finished elementary school, but because my grandpa died, my grandma told him that he needed to start working. This is back in 1944, 1946, at the end of the war, almost at the end of the war. And he was a straight A student. And, I didn't believe him because he's a Leo too. So I'm sorry for all those Leos out there that they like to pump their ego. But they are very good people too. But no, he showed me his report card. My grandma gave it to him and said, here, Jorge, this is yours. And then my dad said, here, come over here. And he said, yeah, what is it? Look at your dad's report card. Straight A's. Straight A's. Not 1, 9, because the numerical numbers in Mexico are the tens are nine are A's,
Yeah.
nines and tens are A's, the B's. Straight A's. Okay. And I was like, wow. I had one B because I was also a straight A student, but he had straight A's, no B's at all. So he always wanted to be an architect, and he always grew up. He didn't finish elementary school, and when he could, he didn't want to. So we grew up with. He read a lot. He was a self um, made man in the sense that he read a lot of different authors. Marcel Proust, Octavio Paz, and other important American and um, Thoreau.
Mm.
Um, so he was always feeding. He was a very curious man. And I think me and my brother inherited that from him. My mom was more practical, and that was a skill that we needed. So when we started school, we had to be practical, but also thirsty for knowledge. We thrived in our school. My older sister had a learning condition, so her school was not her strength. Now we call it special education. She had, I think, ADHD or something like that. So she didn't never knew why she never succeeded in school. Now we know. So, but I thrived, and my brother did too. So when I went through I was the only one in kindergarten who could make elephants made out of clay. So the students wanted to sit next to me because they wanted me to make clay elephants. And you would say, well, anyone can make or elephants made out of clay. But what that taught me in kindergarten was that making anyone feel special because of the specific virtues they have is what college advising is all about when I work with high school students. So I went through kinder, elementary, mid or junior high, and then I finished high school. And then Tijuana did not have back then, except if you were in a private school, psychology. This is back in 1990. So I said, well, I'm going to go to the United States and finish my education there uh, in the United States. So I my aunt suggested, well, why doesn't he go to high school first and finish a year? And my mom agreed, and they said, well, Mr. DeVore said, why don't you just finish one more year here? I didn't know then it would help his numbers have a higher percentage of graduating students because it was a Title I school. But to me, it was a very, very fancy preparatory school, even though it was considered low income in the United States. So I said, yeah, sure, we'll do one more year. And I did, and it helped me understand everything. So I already spoke and wrote English, so I went directly into English classes. And I started my understanding the educational system. Miss Sanchez, I remember the first day she came in because she was hired like in October. The academic year had already started, and she came in her uniform, her Navy uniform. I still remember her medals, her hat, her black and yellow uniform with her black shoes, shiny and spotless. And that's how she conducted herself. She was very, very committed to you finishing whatever you wanted to do. So she kept a close check on me, which I appreciated. And so I started taking classes to graduate from high school, graduated, and then she suggested to go to a community college to explore more. So I wanted to learn everything. And that sounds weird, but I did, like philosophy, world religions, history, economics, political science. And I started tapping on each of these careers. Psychology was interesting. I tell my students it was interesting, but if you ever dated someone just to, be out, but not because you are in love with them, that's how psychology felt, you know? But then when I discovered sociology is when you find that's someone. No
Mm.
one can tell you you're in love. You just know it. and the world changes colors, it becomes brighter. And that's when I discovered sociology. It became such a fascinating field, and I started reading on my own. And that's when I knew I had found my career. And I took the Myers-Briggs test, which I recommend students to take. They're free at the community college to take the Strong Career Inventory Test, the COPS Inventory Test. They're all free. They're part of your community college resources, and that's why community college is a great resource. So as I finished my AA degree, I applied to Berkeley and UCSD. I was also an officer, a senator for my community college for the language and arts degree. No one had the position, so I applied to it and I got it. So being part of the community college leadership, it was instrumental because I got to go to workshops, conferences on leadership, but also you feel heavier in the sense that you represent 1,000 students. So it brought more responsibilities, but I like that. And getting involved in your high school, getting involved in your community, it pays off, and I'll explain why. As I was going to high school, I also volunteered for the public library in Chula Vista. It was not the Castle Park branch. So comes March, and I applied for a scholarship. Miss Sanchez told me there's a scholarship. Do you want to apply for it? And I said, yes. Okay, let's fill it out. Then they held the interviews in the public library where I was volunteering for. And they said, how many hours have you volunteered? And I thought they were, I don't know, expecting 50. And I said 300 hours. And they all were like, what? 300? I said, yes, 300. I was like, and for me, it was fascinating just to be in the library because it was like books, knowledge, I think for when you go to college or you want to read the Alep by Borges, is like a place where the knowledge is there for you just to reach out to and read. We call that now ChatGPT, but back then we had books. So, so I interviewed, I got $300 as a scholarship. That was an unexpected incentive. I applied to community college, and then a position opened up for the library, and I was recommended by a couple of staff at the main library. So I went to interview, and the director there hired me, and I started working. We did a lot of cultural events. We had reading, poetry, clown events, for children, for adults, and we even had one time the Russian Symphony, members of the Russian Symphony played in Tijuana. So Jorge, my supervisor, reached out to some of them and said, can any of you play a small piece in the branch? And 3 people agreed to it, 3 of the Russian players. So we had 3 players from the National Symphony of Russia play in Castle Park Library. Okay. And it was amazing that it was free. I mean, the library paid for it through the Friends of the Library. But having that cultural event at no expense to the community who didn't have that much access to music and reading and these kinds of cultural events was a privilege and an honor to provide at our community. So I transferred to UCSD. I was accepted. I was not accepted to Berkeley, so I did get my Kleenex and I had to like wipe out my tears. And I got into Warren College because UCSD today has eight colleges within. I think it simulates Oxford or Cambridge, one of those two. But I got into Warren College, and I started studying psychology. I had to resign to the library because they could not modify their schedule. So I said, no, this is a schedule, and it conflicted with 1 or 2 of my classes that I had to take. So I said, school is more important. I'm quitting. And I resigned. They made a really nice event for me. And I started working for the Early Academic Outreach Program. And it was in Title I schools that are considered low income. Um, and I was hired on October of 1995. I still remember my supervisor, who was an Aztec dancer, who is an Aztec dancer. And not just an Aztec dancer, he's one of the leader right now in San Diego County in Aztec dance. I didn't know he was any of this. I started discovering this. So not only was he very funny, but he's very inspirational when he speaks. People listen. And he taught me a lot of skills, starting with using my intuition, learning how to use my intuition as I navigate education. So I started working for the EAOP program. I worked with 3 districts, which was, I started with Grossmont, and then I moved to San Diego, and then I moved to Sweetwater, and then San Diego. So we had a 1-week summer program and where the students live on campus. About 100 students lived on campus, which was going to be preparation for my upward bound math and science experience when we had to live on campus for 5 weeks. So when I was invited to work for upward bound math and science, I went to see Mario Aguilar. He's a general for the Aztec dance here in San Diego. And I said, Mario, they're offering me this position. Since he was the one who hired me, I kind of wanted his blessing. Not like Vito Corleone, right? Nothing like that. It was more like, do I have to kiss your ring? No. It was more like, it was more uh, like, do you approve of this? And he asked me one question. He said, Jorge, are you going to grow as a person? And I said, oh, yes. Then he said, you have to go. You have to go. So that's a philosophy I use with my staff ever since. If my staff is going to grow, they have to leave. They have to be because they have to grow. And we as supervisors have to help them just like we were helped. So he said, yeah, you have to go. And I said, okay, thank you very much. And what that did, I didn't know then until right now that I'm speaking with you, I'm realizing this. That created a bridge of cooperation between Trio and EAOP. I said, I'm never gonna detach from EAOP. I'm gonna try to help and support any way I can. And EAOP would have events sometimes, and I would say, well, if you need help, let me know. And I would help them. I continue helping them in any way I could, as I did my work for Upper Bound Math and Science in 6 districts in 2 counties. And some students lived in communities like the only thing is a contaminated lake, trailers, and AC because it's very, very hot. That's where they lived in Calipatria High School, Brawley, and El Centro, and San Diego, Sweetwater, and Grossmont districts. So I work at 6 districts under Upper Bound Math Science. I was hired. That year, we participated in the Greater San Diego Science and Engineering Fair. We had also the advice. We applied to a grant and we got it. They gave us $5,000 so we could have more resources to bring students to work with UCSD students, graduate students. So that way they can teach the high school students methods of research. In other words, proving the scientific method without any hazardous consequences. It had to be something that was safe. And one of our students won first place in the San Diego County in the Greater San Diego Science and Engineering Fair in San Diego. So it was a study in genetics. I don't remember exactly what, but she won. More important than that, they got used to a university environment, research methods, and the culture of the campus. So once they had internalized that, they could go anywhere. So we would do workshops, and we would also do the summer residential program that Upper Bound requires, which is 6 weeks. And during those 6 weeks, one of the weeks was for a tour, and the other 5 weeks was residential. So they lived on campus for 5 weeks, and it wasn't 1 week like in AOP. And one of the things I learned there was that, you have to make relationships with these students. So I had to learn how to listen, like really listen to what students needed. And the program did really well. At that time, talent search, the talent search program, two other staff have moved to other positions. So they asked me if I could help out. And I said, yeah, I can help out. So I was doing Upper Bound, which was doing really good. And then talent search, which had no one. So if you ever felt like if you ever put your cheek on the vacuum of any vacuum and it just sucks your cheek, I felt like that, but the whole body was sucked into talent search. Like I was sucked into it because it just had such a high need. So my supervisor told me, well, Jorge, why don't you work for talent search instead? And we'll hire someone else for upper enrollment science. The director of upper enrollment science can take care of the upper enrollment science. You work on talent search. And that's what I did. So that was in 2005, 2006 in the academic year. So I was doing half and half, and then I moved in 06 fully to talent search. And I've been doing talent search ever since. So when I started doing that, we moved out of one of the high schools, which was doing really well, to another high school that's in Mount Empire District, which is literally what's around it is cows, goats, lambs, no department store or no stores like in a 10-minute radius. You have to drive like maybe 30 minutes or 20 minutes to find a store. And we moved into Mount Empire High School. And I remember when every high school that I've experienced so far has a college going culture. Like, well, you want to go to college, you have to go to see this or to go this place. This school had none of that. Now, as I was working on this, we had and the old staff had moved out. This is in 01, 02. The knowledgeable staff retired, and the new staff that was assistant directors moved into the directorship position, and they were not prepared for the directorship position. They were not trained, and I don't think honestly they had the vision of a director. So we did not do. We met or complied with our requirements, but there was a lot of internal politics within our very small department. So that's like having like a family fight in a 2-bedroom or in a 2-room house or in a studio. If you can imagine having a fight in a studio is like ridiculous, right? Yeah, that's what we had. So that was one of the reasons that we created the Trio Alliance and for the San Diego and Imperial Valley counties, because we noticed that people needed mentoring when they start going into Trio. So Dr. Parks and I met at San Diego State and said, why don't we create an alliance so people can join it, and if they need help, they have someone to reach out to, as opposed to choking and not knowing what to do and not complying with the grant and missing the grant, which really affects students. It doesn't staff can get out of the jobs, but what about the students? They're the ones who are really getting affected. So that was a ethos of the San Diego Imperial Valley Trio Alliance. We got everyone bought into it. Our first meeting was here in San Diego because we used to work like in silos and not helping each other, not sharing, and that was wrong because we had lived through that. And it's like we need to start learning from each other. We need to start working a collaborative way. If you will, we have to implement a feminist model where we learn from each other, share. There's nothing wrong in sharing. Sharing is caring. Because not only, well, if you want to work about egos, you look better, but you really strengthen your network of the community that you're working in. That's the real effect. And it gets even better because the students get better services. So that's what created the Trio Alliance. And then CalSub joined and AOP joined. So we had a multi-program alliance working for us in Trio in both San Diego and in Imperial Valley. It worked really well. because when we were being challenged by the by some of the requirements that we were being asked to do, guess what we did? We called each other up and said, "How are you doing this? How are you doing that?" Well, I'm trying to try to do this. Well, what if we do this and this and that? And it was like, okay, that will even be better. So we got the directors' heads together to think about what's the best approach to solve the new requirements and challenges that we would have in Trio. And that's what we did, and it was very successful. And I think because of that, today we have a more we have a collaborative culture in San Diego County and in Pure Valley too. And I'm very proud of that. Not because I made it, but because people don't have to feel they're by themselves. You know, they don't have to feel that way. It feels terrible. So it was out of compassion, if you will. So after that, we started collaborating with Cal Soap as well. And we started collaborating with, besides EOP and Cal Soap, we started collaborating with the Sango Foundation. And when I mean collaboration is that we don't have to recreate an event. There's going to be a FAFSA event, bring your students. There's going to be a career event, bring your students. The only thing I have to do is volunteer for the event, but I bring my students. I don't have to recreate the whole circus. I don't have to reinvent the wheel. I use what's already there for my students. And guess what? It's really well organized and they really take advantage of it. And I made every dollar stretch like 10 times. So I saved my program money and it's been a really good collaborative effort. Lately, I've been collaborating with the Grossman District in terms they have an annual fair and we collaborate because I bring my students there too. And they benefit from these workshops too. So it helps our programs, our students directly. So I collaborate. That's a little bit about me. I'm not sure if you have any other questions.
Well, I
Yeah.
don't even know what to say. Let's start with while you were talking, you have received multiple hearts, so to speak, from
Mm,
our audience. I'm sure everyone is. I'm just. I can. I'm not sitting. I'm standing. I
mm.
can be standing here for the rest of the day. Just listen to you, not say a word. Uh, I would reflect on so many things you said. We probably cannot do all that, but I do have a couple things that you mentioned. I'm just making a mental note to myself. You mentioned Myers-Briggs, so-called MBTI assessment.
Mhm.
Just additional comment there for our students listening. It is available to all of you guys as well. So if you're interested in finding out more about yourself and the career that you want to take, if you're not sure, let one of us know and we can take care of that and help you out. Also, you mentioned really briefly Russian literature. I just wanted to mention that because I've noticed I've been in the States for 16 years now, and
Mm,
Russian literature is not much used or talked about around here, but it's so essential and it's so
mm,
significant. We're talking about music, we're talking about literature, so writings and writers for you students that are into reading and just literature in general. Look it up if you don't know much about it. I just want to ask you one more thing and then I'll let Cameron take over in case he has some questions. And this kind of goes into what he is probably about to ask you about the motivation. It's kind of like a situational thing and I don't really have to think hard because your background does it itself. And here's what I wanna do. Imagine that you go back to Tijuana
mhm,
in a couple weeks. You're going for a vacation, you're going just for a day trip, it doesn't matter. And you go back to where you grew up, where you were raised. And you see on the street outside of the house where you grew up, you see this young kid. To you, he doesn't look older than 16, 17, might be younger, so it's a teenager. And he is standing there and he's facing, as you said, you can see San Diego because it's that close geographically. He's standing there looking forward and he sees the whole city, which is funny enough, even though you can see it for that close, it is in a different country, different languages being spoken, it's a different ethnicity background, everything, because you're talking about the poverty here and then stars and skies over there. And you engage yourself in conversation with this young man and he is telling you that it's funny, he's trying to find a motivation to one day, if not even tomorrow, gets there, crosses the border, gets to this big city, and just, as they say, sky's the limit, just takes the world under his knees and just, execute in life. But so much anxiety, so much fear because he is, it's unknown. Everything's different. He is not sure what tomorrow will bring and doesn't know what to do. And now, before you give him any advice, you find out that his name is Jorge.
Mm.
And he is just the younger version of you. He is a 16-year-old Jorge that is motivated but afraid to take a step. What do you do? What do you tell him? Or, in other words, what do you tell everything that you've been through, everything that you shared with us, everything that you know today with all your experience and knowledge? What do you tell your 16-year-old self when it comes down to taking that next step?
So one of the things I did when I was young, when I was at the library volunteering, I saw this. So back then, for those who don't know, um, back in the 80s, they used to have this Betamax and VHS videos, and you would put them in a video recorder and play them. And they pretty much work like CDs today or downloadable documentaries and movies. I remember I saw The Hero's Journey by Joseph Campbell. And I was like, huh. And it said Star Wars. I'm a Star Wars fan. So I put the video in, and it was called The Hero's Adventure. So, and then I saw the video, and it was like amazing. I was like, wow, I need to know more about this. And then they had the whole series of The Power of Myth by Joseph Campbell, interviewed by Bill Moyers. And they talk about the different archetypes that we go by as men, as women. That why do we do what we do? Why do we believe what we believe? Why do we pursue what we pursue? Right? Archetypes. It's a Jungian term on how we create knowledge from an anthropological view. So, in that was amazing. So that's when I began to learn about different mythological beliefs around the world, from Japan to Iran to Australia to Brazil, Mexico, the plain Native American people. I was telling Cameron that he is very fortunate to work in Oklahoma because nowhere in the United States do you see so many cultural Native American tribes as in Oklahoma. And that is a privilege to be in. So I got to know everything about Eskimos, beliefs, and all that. And in these interviews, Joseph Campbell tells Bill Moyers, Bill Moyers asking him, and he says, well, Joseph Campbell replies, follow your bliss. And he was like, follow my bliss. Yes, follow your bliss. Follow what makes you feel whole, what makes you feel happy, what makes you feel complete. The best word I have for that is, being in love, because we all know what's having a crush on someone feels like, but we usually associate it with one person, but not with an experience. The other thing that Joseph Campbell taught me is Bill Morris was asking him, well, what are we looking for? Do you think we're looking for a meaning in life? And Joseph Campbell replies, I don't think we're looking for a meaning of life. I think we're looking for experiences that make us feel alive. So, and I think that's why we're all football or soccer junkies, because they are experiences that make us feel alive.
Mm-hmm.
So, what I would tell my younger self um, is to follow his bliss, to follow his intuition. Listen to it. It's telling you something.
Sigue su
And
intuición.
sí, sigan su intuición. Follow your intuition because Reagan is going to have a different intuition about something than I will. And I tell my students, because they ask me, well, what should I do? What class should I take? Well, I said, let's look at the classes. But this is like me telling you, like, Jorge, imagine that I'm your best friend. And he says, and he comes to me and says, Jorge, I wanted to tell you something. Oh, go ahead, Michael, what's up? You know Rosie? Yeah, yeah, I know Rosie. Well, I like her. And I go like, you like Rosie? You should like Claudia. Claudia's better looking than Rosie. And he's like, well, maybe to you, but I like Rosie. It's like, no, man, you need to date Claudia. Well, you date her. I want to date Rosie. So it's not who I like, is who you like.
Mm-hmm.
It's the experience that you want to have. No one, I tell my students when I teach classes, no one is ever going to have your point of view in this planet. No one. You have a unique perspective in this world, and no one will ever have it, ever. So even if you believe in, if you're Hindu or you're Buddhist and you believe in reincarnation, and you're going to be born in a different place, it's not going to be this place. It's not going to be this experience. It's not going to be this time. It's going to be a different time. So now is the time. Now is the time to do what you need to do what you've been wanting to do, because no one else will materialize that. Only you, because you have that unique point of view. So, so that's what I would tell my younger self too. Value who you are. And through doing my master's degree, my master's degree was on 5 generations of family in Tijuana. So I did research 7 generations. I really went back 7 generations. Through all oral stories, I interviewed my great grandma when she was alive, my great great aunt. So I interviewed a lot of them. You are the product of survivors and those who did something in life that they wanted to do. You are that. You are the product of many generations. Because if any of them would have died before having your great ancestor, you wouldn't be here. You just wouldn't. So your existence is proof that miracles do happen and the miracles can continue to happen. So when you speak, Cameron or Philip or Danny or Darla, in any place, just imagine that all of your ancestors are behind you. And you could say, oh, that's a nice metaphor. It's not a metaphor. It's a real thing. It lives in your blood and it lives in your skin. And I'll give you an example. Um, I always wonder like how I'm very good with chit-chatting with people, depending on their vibe, right? Some people is like, don't talk to me because I don't know, they just gave me a parking ticket or something. So
We didn't have a problem talking to each other in DC.
no, you know where I think we met at the store when I was buying a coffee and you were with somebody.
Yes, 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 yes.
And Cameron kept looking at me weird, like I owe him money, right? And I was like, okay, I don't know this guy. I don't know him money. He kept looking at me weird, like a stare, like he owes me money. But I did, and he forgot about it, but I haven't forgotten. He kept giving this stare. And that's why it's like we started chatting, and that's when he and your partner, I'm not sure who she was, but they both say, thank you for your questions. I'm gonna tell you something about me. It's not that I like to ask questions. It's more like when an issue raises up and no one is talking about it, I get very, very anxious, very anxious, and I have to say something. It's more like that. And if I don't, I'm gonna get very, very depressed. So I rather suffer the embarrassment of going through the microphone, right? Than feeling depressed or feeling sad that I did not do the question. So that's why when I ask questions or I say statements, and doesn't matter if there's a lot of people, there's very few people, I when I ask questions, it's because I need to ask them or I need to say what I need to say. So that's where that's how it's germinated. That's how this thing is born. Um,
Well,
so
that person who was with me, she's also been interviewed by us. That was Elizabeth Gordon.
mm,
And we were both on the Oklahoma Trio board at that time. And I really did admire your questions. So I liked what you had to say about your dedication to your trio and how the collaboration of the trio professionals in your area has really helped the work.
True
So
Alliance, the True Alliance, yeah.
the Trio Alliance. So, how have you seen the effects of Trio on the students' lives that you serve? And the second part of this is what examples have you seen of students benefiting in their career or their financial situation after participating in Talent Search?
And before that, just for those that are not reading the comments, J.R. Jones
Oh.
shared. J.R. is one of our regular listeners and loves and enjoys everyone um, on the podcast. Said, my grandmother was not allowed to go past fifth grade, but never learned English,
Mm,
made to work after. She
mm,
spoke hardly any English, and me and my sister spoke hardly any Spanish, but
mm.
she always found ways to encourage us to do well in school. I wish she had a person like you in her life.
Thank
And
you.
and for anyone else, now is the time if you feel like asking any questions for anything that you have for Jorge, please do. We'll read it out loud.
So, I
As
know you
as
have lots
your
of student stories, Jorge, so go ahead and tell them.
as your I'm not sure if I shared this with you. As you're thinking about your questions, if you have any for me. Um, One of the most challenging things that we faced was the pandemic, right? As adjunct faculty, I remember one of the professors at San Francisco State University, who I happen to know. She was like, she was saying in a chat in a group chat, like, what are we gonna do? This is very hard. This is very, challenging. You know, she was stressing out, as understandably people were stressing out. I'm gonna share with you something I did. I called every talent search program from Washington to Vermont, every single one. They're bordered Canada. I called every single talent search program to see what they were doing. And that was amazing because it gave me insight about what they do, how they do it. And we shared some information also with Michigan, I think, or North Dakota. But it was just picking up the phone and giving them a call. So how is this related to COVID in this statement? When I read her statement, I was like, you're right. You are typing and writing down exactly what we're all feeling. But I said to her, we already know how the educational system works. The students don't. So we have to find a way to make it manageable for them so they can understand. We need help, but we understand the system. The students need help and they don't understand the system. So we have to we are, and I'm saying I'm talking to everyone in this room. We are those light beacons for our students because we understand systems. And when they don't know, that's why they come to us. Because they don't know how to do one thing, just like I didn't know when I started Southwestern College. Like I said, my parents just barely, one of them graduated from elementary school. They didn't know. So I asked, I don't know one high school student today that has asked more questions than I did. I was a student that asked, so far, I think I've been the student who has asked more questions than anyone I know. But that's our job. Our job is to direct them. And once they have their chart map already figured out, questions answered, they can sail on their own. They will sail. Doesn't matter how high the waves are, because they have the knowledge that you gave them to figure out by themselves. But they need that basic information first. And it starts by listening to what questions they have. So that's the importance, I think, that I know Trio has nationwide, that we are those light beacons. Now, whether we want to see that or not, that's up to you. But you are one. That's like saying Mr. Pavlovich is a man, and he says, well, I don't know. Well, genetically, you are. And you have a beard. Well, I don't know if I have a beard. Well, you do have a beard,
Mm.
right? So, or Angelica has glasses, right? Or Bethany has beautiful blue eyes, silver blue eyes. That's a fact. And another fact is that we are those beacons. And it's crucial that we help students who need this information. It's crucial because that's why we're here, you know. We're here to help students. So that's the role I see myself in. And that's why I remember my director told me, how come you can now apply as an assistant director for a trio position that we had here? And I remember I had to sit down. One time, our director for upper math science took us to Yosemite, and we had to go up to Half Dome. We didn't have to. They had already went, and I was the last one. And I really had to sit down and to think, because if I fall, I die. That's pretty much it. I have to take my body back to San Diego. So I had to sit down and think. And then once I built up my courage, then I went up. So same thing, same thing with the decisions that we help our students with. They have to make these decisions. We have to tell them it's gonna be okay, right? It cannot be not okay because they are in the environment that's supportive, that's college conducive. Why should it be otherwise? If anything, they're just missing information. But I feel sometimes they already have a compass. It just needs to be fed information. So,
Jorge, I gotta tell you, personally, next time I'm in San Diego for work-related purposes or
mm,
otherwise, I'm going to reach out so we can have a coffee or dinner because your analogies and your wisdom is very unique, as
oh,
I
thank you.
haven't heard before. So I really also Angelica, I'm sorry. Angelica said, "Hola Jorge, me encanto escucharte. Thank you for your perspective. You said that you get anxiety that causes you to ask questions, but what if instead of seeing it as anxiety, that's your intuition? You are following your bliss."
Absolutely. Because after that, I feel like I did what I had to do. I fully agree, Angelica. Thank you for. See, I learned something today that maybe it was not my anxiety, maybe it was my bliss talking to me. So
So,
thank you.
Jorge, what are some of the students that you've worked with and how have they benefited career-wise or financially from what you've done?
So we've had doctors, dentists, lawyers go through our program. But I'm going to share with you a story that happened 2 years ago. And then just let me know how am I in time. But we had a student from Iran coming to the United States in El Cajon Valley High School. Now you could tell this student was bright. You could just tell that. Very interested in physics, astronomy, things like that, gravity. And she she did not felt understood. And the counselors have like so and so wants to commit suicide, so and so just got evicted, so and so will not graduate from high school. They're dealing with a lot of fires. So the Miss Roldan told me, Jorge, why didn't she apply to your program? And we sat down and talked. So she told me that she had been part of a national competition to play piano, and she had been one of the finalists for her city, near Tehran. And she's always had a passion for math and physics. So I said, okay. I said, and the reason why she came is because she felt pre-calculus was too low and she wanted to get to calculus because according to her, even her calculus level was beyond derivatives, but it was not fully integratives yet. But she knew those concepts. So the goal was for us to help her get into calculus, move her out pre-calc, move her into calculus, and it worked. And that's when the journey began because she began to apply to different universities and all. And she one time asked me, I think she was going to start at the community college, but she said at Cuyamaca, but she said, Jorge, I was looking at the different programs and the community college in Pomona has astrophysics. What would you recommend me? I said, well, let's look at the program. And that program had exactly what she needed. Her parents could afford to move to Pomona to rent there. So I said, this is the program that's going to help you the most. So I suggest if you have the possibility, start with online classes, supplement them with the ones here, and then in one semester or so, you move over there. And that's what she did. And she was doing research with Cal Poly Pomona on astronomy, her second year. And she was working in publishing, helping publish an article on astronomy. So the thing is, or the analogy is, did I create that? No. Now, did I help it get a direction? Yes. I did not create the storm, her storm of passion. I did not create the waves of the sea that she has to do in this time space world that we live in, 3 dimension, if you will. But I did help her adjust her sails, like to say, okay, this is the direction we have to go. Just follow the east because that's where the sun goes up, and you will follow. If you follow that direction, you will get to that place you want to go. So usually I don't create what they already have. It's just direction that they need to what they already know they want to be. But just sometimes they don't have the way to articulate that. So that's an example of how, if you will, the miracle happens. And with that principle, I had a student, for example, who, so sometimes the students would come in and Ms. Roldan would say, what do you need help with? Well, is Jorge here? No, he's not here. I can help you. No, I want Jorge to help me. So usually that would happen a lot. And Ms. Roldan would tell me, I don't know what's up with your students. I'm trying to help them. And they say, no, they want you. So I'm just letting you know that, I try to help them and they want to see you. So that often happens. I think in part is because of my listening skills, but also someone from the multicultural center here said that she said this that I went to a Chinese New Year event here in UCSD, and she looked at me and she said, "Do you remember seeing me?" I was standing right in front, and I looked at her and said, "No, I don't remember seeing you." Okay, do you remember someone saying this and this and this? Yeah, I remember that. Okay. And then he tells everyone, all of my work, my work colleagues, he is a born counselor, she said, because his listening skills are very, very unique or very, very attuned, not unique, attuned. Even though he doesn't remember my face, he remembers exactly what I said. Yeah, that I do. So I think the thing here is listening to our students. I tell the same thing I've been part of district trainings they invite me to them, so that's why I go. And I tell them, listen to your students. They are the ones who create the culture of your school. It's not the teachers. Without students, there's no teachers, you see. It's the students who create the culture of the school. So listening to them is essential because they will inspire classrooms, you know. So that's what Mozart said about Beethoven. Oh, one day this young man will shake the world or something like that. I don't remember when they were at, but when Mozart briefly gave classes to Beethoven, he said, this
And he
man
did.
will, yeah, one day change
Which
the.
students have you had that became scientists? Because you said that you had attorneys, lawyers, scientists. What students have come through your program that became scientists?
She goes by Malika, Malika from Iran. I had students from UCLA. Um, from Oklahoma, she went to UCLA. Oh, and then we had another one. They became they did lab work with genetic work, and biological work. They both went to UCLA, actually. Those are just two that come to mind, not including my upper biomath and science students, but just talent search. So, so when they do science, they usually, in my experience, they focus on genetics. I tell them that's where the future is at because biomedicine and genetic medicine is where we're going to,
Mm-hmm.
where you're gonna have secondary effects of your medicine. Mm.
So I think you've had a lot of really great, rich experiences to share. And I liked how you said early on, you said we work together s- to help people. And it's kind of like your whole input and intention is on giving back. So with that in mind, we're going to move into the gratitude segment. And what do you do for all you do a lot for other people, it sounds like, and it's you have a lot of passion. What do you do for paying it forward to practice gratitude in action?
Um, I would say we one of the things that we did, this happened like 3 years ago, uh, is that one time because of inflation, we ran out of money and we had no money at all. So I was a reader for the San Diego Foundation. So someone asked me, can you read for the San Diego Foundation so that way we can give money to other nonprofit programs? I said, yeah, I'll do that. And one thing that this person I really appreciate, who was a former student of mine, employee of mine, and Talent Search graduate too, Talent Search alumni, said is that I would read all the proposals, and I was like, proposal A, we need food to this and this and that to help students. But proposal C said, we already cook food and we did this and we don't need money for that because we have a lot. We actually have an excess of food. So I'm like, why don't we just get them together? If one has excess of food, Proposition C, and Proposition A needs food, we don't need to spend any money. Let's just get them together to talk so that way the excess supply can meet the demand of another program. So besides funding proposals, I suggested programs to network with their specific wherever there was specific needs that were described. I would just network them, and I submitted that, and she liked that because now the solutions have to do with money. They have to do with just networking people with what they have. So I was going somewhere with this. What was your question, Cameron? I forgot.
How do you pay it forward for what you've been given? How do you practice
So
gratitude in action?
we had no money. And I said, okay, I'm gonna just get my sword, right? Hero's Adventure, and start calling every single one of my seniors. And then she said, Jorge, because I was a reader, she said, you know that we have money for nonprofits to help them whenever they're helping high school students with FAFSA. I said, no, I didn't know that. Well, we can give you some money if you want. Okay, so how much can you give me? Well, how much do you need? And I said, oh, we're talking deep pockets here. So I remember my director, we submitted a proposal and they gave us money, but the condition was we have to help every single student in that high school, whether they're in trio or not in trio. But we're not going to use talent search money. We're going to use San Diego Foundation money for this. And that's what we did. We started helping all the high schools that we were at, 100% of their seniors, with their FAFSA, with their CADA applications. So that way they could go to college. And if they needed help with college applications and all that, we would also help them with that. So there's a lot of there's a leadership conference happening tomorrow's Friday. We're not, we're gonna be, me and my staff are gonna be presenting a lot of the workshops there. When Grossmont District does its, and Cuyamaca District do their future college fair, we present there. When CalSoap needs presenters for their college fair, we present there. We present there because we invite our students and we're there too. So whenever we work in a symbiotic way, we end up getting more than what we need, really. So
Well, I like how you really do a good job of networking with people to try to get the need met and do community building. Like you believe so much in what you do that you're think that let's um let's combine resources to meet the need. It's kind of like the guy in It's a Wonderful Life when he's at the bank and he works in the bank and everybody wants to withdraw all their money because it's the depression. He asks them, "Well, how much do you really need?" And everybody kind of works together in Bedford Falls to not take all of their money out of his bank. And that's kind of you're kind of like that character in a way.
there's a, remember I work for a library, right? There's a story in, I think it's Polish. It's called Stone Soup. And there's three Russian soldiers who are going to a town and they begin to knock at the door and say, "Hey, can you help me with some food?" And they would close the door on them. And they would close the door on them. So they were like figuring out like, what do we do? Okay, let's see. Let's get a cauldron. They fill it with water and they put it to boil. They got some rocks from the river and they began to stir and they started putting stones inside. And then they began to say, "Ooh, this soup would taste so good with some milk." And someone heard that. So they got their milk out and they pour it there. Oh, this soup would taste very good with these vegetables. And like two or three houses had those vegetables. Like one had carrots, the other one had cabbage, and the other one had like, I don't know, potatoes or something. So they brought those and they put them there. Oh, this soup would taste really good with some bones or something. And another house had that. So every house ended up putting something in that stone soup. And at the end of the day, everyone could eat from that soup, And that's how I see the work that we do. No one has everything, but someone has an ingredient, so we could all eat.
We can
No
all
one has
contribute to the
everything.
greater good.
Hmm.
No one has everything, but everyone has something.
Everyone has something
Yeah.
to create a good stone soup. Yeah.
So I have a picture of a dog with an apple on its head in my office, and it says, "No one can do everything, but everyone can do something."
Hmm. For everyone, for the benefit of our community. So, that's what women do. They share for the benefit of the community. And I think when our money is thin and inflation is on, partnerships, you know, is the key. And it will work. It will work because guess what? It's been working for millions of years. That's why it will work.
Mm-hmm.
We're not that different. Well, maybe less hair, but it's pretty much the same. We build communities when people thought they could not network, and we start sharing. And that's how we create stone soups. Hmm.
I don't know if Cameron has any closing remarks, but Jorge, I do want to thank you for your time today, and really appreciate it. I know that we have heard, all of us, a lot that most of us will take away and use someday. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you. I also enjoyed it too. Like usually I
Good,
don't.
that's what matters. That's important as well.
Cameron was like, "So are you gonna talk about something or this?" And then I was like, "It's gonna come out how it's gonna come out, you know?" And apparently, Philip, you were late, but no, I was late too. But I was just polishing my bio. So I sent it at 11:01. I sent my bio to Cameron at 11:01. So by the time you walked in, he was barely sending it to you because I had just barely sent it to him. So it all
Nice.
works in synchronicity, you know?
And back to what you said earlier about students, to be fair, in my defense, I was late in a good way because of the students. I was not on campus, and I was listening to presentations, and our students from our school were presenting about the internship that they're doing, and so it just, we were just cutting it short and almost being done, and I didn't feel like getting up right that moment. So I told Cameron I might be a few minutes late, so I ran back as soon as I could, all
And I
for a
was
good
late.
cause.
And I was late because I was helping my mom with some stuff at home that she needed help. She can't carry it. So I was like, you know what? Things are going to work out. I was like,
Exactly.
I'm going to be maybe a few minutes, but we'll see. Things will unfold in a way that they're going to end up gracefully. And they did. Thank God that you stayed for that conference because students they like to feel listened to because
Good.
that's what they need that, right?
Yep.
So
And
I'm glad that you stayed.
I,
And
I read this somewhere, or maybe I heard it, but I'm pretty sure it was in one of the books that I've read long time ago. It says everything will be okay at the end.
mhm,
If it's not okay, it's not the end.
correct.
So there's that.
That's a very good analogy. I love it.
When you were talking about Stone Soup, Jamie Jones said, I love that story. And I remember teachers when I worked in an elementary school, they would teach that story and it'd be like a whole content lesson of like food, history. Students really loved that story. So the Stone Soup story is a really good story to tell.
It's a very good story. Yeah.
Do we have any other questions or comments that people would like to post in the chat?
Well, the rest of the people here are all professionals, so the students that we have, they already posted comments, unless they have any additional.
Jamie posted again, my teachers used to get it to us, um, used to used to get us
Used
moving
it
to
to
it.
get us moving to.
Mhm.
I've never heard that story. I've heard something similar, but
Mhm.
never heard that one specific.
Well, Jorge, you've done a great job. I told you you would do a great job. I'm glad we made connections and that you've been able to help us and you've been able to show how Trio works. So thank you very much.
I wanna close with this story. So remember that Senator Susan Collins was in our COE conference, Cameron?
Yes.
So I made a donation so I could see her. Um, but I wanted to meet their head staff, the staff of the head staff that coordinates everything with Susan Collins or for her. And I had a little chat with him, really nice man. And I'm gonna what I told him is what I want to tell all of you. And I said, and he busted laughing when I said this, but I said, I want to thank you, and this goes to all of you, for all those hours you were not paid for while helping students and helping your community. So thank you, everyone here, Reagan, Darla, Philip, um, Jar Jones, Bethany, okay, my host, right, Mr. Cooley, for doing
Coley. It's Coley.
Coley. for doing all the work that you do to help our communities. And it may seem small, it may seem small, but I've been inspired by people who did not know I was looking at them, and I've been inspired to people who did not know I was listening to them. So you never know how you inspire people just by you doing what you love to do and helping how you love to help. You just never know. And it can be very, very apparent to you. It could be very, very small to you, but to someone, will make the life difference for that decision that they have to make. So thank you, everyone, for the work that you do.
Thank you, Jorge, again.